Zack Palansky, he is a fifth columnist. Sadiq Khan, he is a fifth columnist. Keir Starmer, he is a fifth columnist. All three of those characters are acting from within power against the interests of the country. Hello, it's Paul Cox here, and today I want to talk to you about the fifth column. This is part of my This Is series. The This Is series is me discussing the words, phrases, groups, organisations, structures that are used in today's political debate / culture war. The fifth column perhaps is not something as ubiquitous as some of the other things that I have spoken about, i.e. British culture, Islamophobia, the far right, Green Party policy, benefits Britain. I've produced a number of videos, and I have now generated a playlist where you can see them all in one place, because this series is going to go on and on and on. I love making it, and you clearly enjoy watching them. But before I get into the fifth column, I just want to bring something to your attention, because you probably noticed that I am looking different, and that's because I am now a big deal. I'm not. Forget that. I'm not at all. However, I have reached 10,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. Yay me! But most of all, thank you. I love the fact that you view this, you comment on this, even the wallies, the positives, the negatives. I enjoy all the engagement. Thank you so much. I plan to keep doing this. Who knows what the limit is? 20,000? 30,000? 100,000? Who knows? I'm just going to keep going until you tell me not to. And even then, I'll probably ignore you and carry on anyway. But thank you from me to you. Please do consider subscribing if you're not subscribed now, and consider sharing this. Maybe friends and family would be interested too. Perhaps they could learn something in the same way you are. Perhaps you absolutely hate it, in which case, anyway, back to the fifth column. In the UK, and more broadly in politics, the fifth column refers to a group of people inside a country who secretly work to undermine it, often in support of an enemy or opposing force. The phrase comes from the term which originated during the Spanish Civil War. A nationalist general, Emilio Mola, reportedly said he had 4 military columns advancing on Madrid, and a fifth column already inside the city, helping from within. Thus was born the term fifth column. What it means in UK context today is acting against national interests from within, secretly supporting another country, ideology or cause, or trying to weaken institutions' morale or unity. And I think whatever side of the political divide you're on, you can agree that a number of those things are genuinely happening. I could point to you towards Keir Starmer, for instance. I could make a video on Keir Starmer now, and many of my followers, subscribers and supporters could comment to say, well, Keir Starmer is a fifth columnist. Keir Starmer is the fifth column. Because many people, me included to some degree, believe that Keir Starmer is not acting in the best interests of this country. He's acting on the best interests of a wider organisation, i.e. globalisation, a wider philosophy, i.e. socialism, and he doesn't want the convention or the traditions of British culture to stand, so he works to undermine them, make you believe they don't exist, so he can then import his views and run the country in that manner. And in doing so, he builds a support until we become the minority voice and everybody else has this level of cognitive dissonance, which, by the way, is another This Is video, which makes them believe that everything they see or hear is not true. So they just look to a leader, an authoritarian figure, a deity, perhaps. And that is how we end up in a position we find ourselves in now, where the country is divided, and the things that you see that are damaging your traditions, your culture, your principles, are told to you by our leaders to be nonsense. That's not true. I know it's not true. You know it's not true. And they can't stop us saying it. And if we keep saying it, they can't win. Anyway, there are a number of people within this country who I believe are possibly fifth columnists. Take, for instance, the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. Who could, in their right mind, tell you or justify to you that Sadiq Khan is acting in the best interests of this country? Sadiq Khan doesn't talk about this country unless it's in his terms. To him, this country is all about DEI. This country is all about multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is our strength, he says. Now, that's because he's Mayor of London, and he has built up a huge constituency which believe the things that he says, or were supportive of them anyway, and most of them live in London. So people living outside of London looking horrified, thinking, how could anybody possibly believe this man? Well, they can, because they all sympathise, empathise and understand what he's trying to do and say. And he's doing that knowing full well we have an open border policy that's only likely to get worse. And if he embraces every single one of them, he can continue his dictatorship of London. Now, I have some personal experience of this. I worked for Transport for London for 12 years. Transport for London is one of the authorities which sits under the Mayor of London alongside the Metropolitan Police. And I saw a huge cultural shift since 2016 when Sadiq Khan became mayor after Boris Johnson. Right up until I left the business, the culture became much more about DEI, multiculturalism, the differences in people and celebrating the differences. People going on cognitive bias courses, people going on awareness courses, trans awareness, this awareness, that awareness. Everything was multicultural. Everybody was depicted as a different silo. This is a Muslim. This is a brown person. This is a Sikh. This is a white person. There weren't too many of them. And what we do know is that all of these leaders in Sadiq Khan's mould like to break society down into oppressors versus the oppressed. You are good if you are being oppressed or seen to be oppressed by this ideology, and you are bad if you are seen to be oppressive in any way. And by oppressive, they don't mean now, they mean historical oppression. So there is a fictional ancestor which all white men appear to be connected to, which makes them the oppressor and bad. They are the token by which we must measure all evil. Now, of course, Sadiq Khan doesn't say this as overtly as I did. Of course, Keir Starmer doesn't say this as overtly as I did. But there's another character that's coming onto the scene, and that's Zack Palansky. Now, Zack Palansky is obviously the leader of the Green Party, and he is running on an even more further left ideology than Keir Starmer, Sadiq Khan. And he is not about division, really. He said this is post-division and this is how things are going to be now. We're going to open up borders. We're going to give everybody who comes to the country a form of residency. It's no longer about civilians or whatever. As soon as you get in, you become a resident. And if you are a resident, you can be given benefits and you can work if you want or if you don't want to. So anybody who comes across on a rubber dinghy, no matter how they got here, will be considered legal and a resident of the UK and can be given benefits. Of course, what that does is say to the rest of the world, woo, we're here and we've got loads of money for you. Come on in. And of course, the more people that adhere to that, and they are much more likely to vote for the Green Party. Now, I think there is a philosophy that says that that's not strictly true, and there's a tip of balance after time which says that these people start voting for themselves. We've seen that with independent candidates. The Gaza candidate. There are at least 8, 10, 12 MPs in the Houses of Parliament that have been voted in to their constituencies because of their support for Gaza over Israel. This does not affect what happens day to day in this country, irrespective of what you might be told on Channel 4 News. So they are there in order to prop up politics and issues in the Middle East, not directly impacting us here. And we're seeing this proliferate throughout all sorts of the political divide. Now, Zack Palansky is trying to bring those two things together. He's trying to bring the left, ultra-liberals, mega-progressives and the Islamists together in one soup. We know it's not going to work. We know it's not going to collapse. We know it's going to collapse. And we know when it does, there'll only be one victor, and it will not be the ultra-weak progressives. Simple as that. Anyway, Zack Palansky, he is a fifth columnist. Sadiq Khan, he is a fifth columnist. Keir Starmer, he is a fifth columnist. All three of those characters are acting from within power against the interests of the country. Now you can say that's completely wrong, Paul. You have no evidence for that. But here is what I would say to that. Look at what they are doing. They have eroded to the point that they would argue it doesn't exist. British culture does exist. 100%. The convention, the tradition, there's 1,000, 1,500 years history of it. What they've tried to do in the last 10 to 20 years in the 21st century is change people's minds through cognitive dissonance. So you no longer believe in what you see and hear. And if you see an immigrant, particularly an illegal immigrant, an asylum seeker, commit a heinous crime against a white girl or a family in the park, you are told to believe that is a one-off, and anyone who thinks that it is in any way bad is racist and bigoted and has misunderstood the situation. No, no, and triple no. That is cognitive dissonance. That is evidence that they are working from the inside to change our minds so that they can proliferate their power infinitum. That is the fifth column. That is the Trojan horse. That is Emilio Mola's fifth column in Madrid. They are on the inside working against the people. And they are gathering masses and masses of supporters because they appeal to the sensibilities of those that believe they're oppressed. The ultra-liberals that are either guilty by association to their ancestors for something their ancestors did. Not our ancestors, their ancestors did. They feel guilty. They're trying to right some mythical wrong. Or you're an asylum seeker. You're an illegal immigrant. You are someone who moved here 5 years ago and don't like the way the country's run because you don't like Christian values. You don't like that women dress the way they do. You don't like that there is a liberalism, which is ironic because we're pairing those two groups together. So they all look to people like Sadiq Khan as the Mayor of London, Zack Palansky as the leader of the Green Party, and Keir Starmer as the leader of the Labour Party, and to some degree, much less impact, Ed Davey of the Lib Dems. The Lib Dems really are inconsequential. They're for people who really aren't affected by politics and life's good for them, so they assume that there can't be any problems for anybody else. Or they're for people who don't know how to vote. Simple as that. Gets them 80 seats in Parliament, and it means that Ed Davey can go to Thorpe Park 3 times a year, go down the log flume and go, vote for me, I'm a fucking idiot. But there is plenty of evidence that these people are working against the people of Great Britain, which makes them, therefore, a fifth columnist. What can we do? If you're listening to this thinking, you're right, Paul, and many of you might be. Hopefully many of you are. But if you're thinking, what can we do? Well, there's only one thing you can do, and that is vote. They are tribalised. They are energised. They are ready to go. Look at the groundswell. Look at the coalescence around Zack Palansky, how quickly that's taken off. And compare that to how slowly it took Nigel Farage and Reform to build to the popularity they are now. And standing on the shoulder, by the way, of Nigel Farage, whether they like it or not, is Rupert Lowe. A lot of the hard miles were done by Farage. Now, I'm not saying that Restore Britain is worse or better than Reform at this point. I'm not a member of any political party. I never have been. I never will be, because I want to be able to commentate freely. But what I am saying is there was a lot of hard-won battles fought by Nigel Farage that enables Restore Britain to grow as quickly as it did. My point here is not whether one is bad and the other one's good. It's that if you compare that with what's going on the left, they are growing exponentially quicker. So what you can do is go out and vote for a party in May's local election and whenever the general election comes, for a party that is against the fifth columnists. Do you want London to be British again? Do you want London to be English again? And by which I mean culturally. Because I am not a multiculturalist. I'm a monoculturalist. That doesn't mean I'm against different ethnicities or different skin colours. I'm more than happy. Not that it matters what I think, but I am more than happy to have multi-ethnic regions. I've no issue with that, as long as they form under one agreed culture, a constitution, if you will, so that we're all working towards one agreed greater good. What everybody I am speaking about, Palansky, Khan, Starmer, Davey, what they are all doing is trying to break down and create division so that you no longer know what your principles are and you just follow them. It is that dark. It is that sinister. So, vote for a party that will look after your culture, look after your tradition, and stop this division. They are on the inside, and if you don't want them to win, if you want to defeat them, then go out and vote. Because let me tell you, for every person that sits on their bum on the sofa and says it's raining, I can't be asked, there are 2 or 3 progressive left-wingers going out to vote irrespective of what you do. And when they get in based on this, oh, it's all going to be okay, we're all going to wear Hessian, and everybody thinks we should be kind to one another, and they get in on that basis because there's lots of people who don't understand politics, they will then bring to fruition some of their more sinister policies, which I covered earlier in this video. So go out and vote. The fifth column is real. The fifth column needs to be taken seriously. And anyone who tells you otherwise is either cognitively dissonant or on the inside. There you go, the fifth column. Hope you liked this video. I enjoyed making it. Please do consider subscribing. Over 50% of you watching this will be subscribed, but a further 40-odd% are not subscribed. So please do consider subscribing. You can also follow me on all media platforms at Paul Cox Comedy. And if you want to donate to me, you can go to my Substack at Paul Cox Comedy again and pay a monthly subscription of £5. If you can't afford that or don't want to, don't worry, you're all welcome. But until next time, keep it real.